for terminal count.
Overlook Horizon High Altitude Balloons, an Ontario County nonprofit.
This is no ordinary balloon.
What a view!
Over 110,000 feet.
This is incredible.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Tori here from Overlook Horizon, coming to you live this morning for the first SpaceX launch and the first U.S. launch of 2019, coming up this morning for the Iridium 8 mission. Man, my eyes are all red here. My eyes were just watering a second ago. Anyway, so we're live this morning here, hopefully to see a launch today. First one for the year today, and this is Iridium 8 that'll be launching today, which is part of it's the 8th mission in the Iridium NEXT constellation. Launching from the West Coast today. All these Iridium missions have launched from the West Coast because this is a polar orbit. So generally on the West Coast, it's going to head south off the launch pad and go over Antarctica and loop around and do a polar orbit, which is what we'll see this morning. So launching on the West Coast from Vandenberg Air Force Base this morning. A couple of things that are being looked at today as far as weather. We're about 60% go for weather, meaning 60% chance of acceptable conditions for weather. That does not include upper level winds. Upper level winds are a little bit of a question mark, but it doesn't seem like it's a huge question mark at the moment. I haven't heard of anybody talking a huge amount about that yet today. So
Stand by for terminal count.
sorry, don't mind me. I just hitting the wrong buttons here on my broadcast software. That's not what I meant to push. I'm back. All right, it's been a rough morning here trying to get this up and running. I've had technical issues with my streaming software all morning. Been frustrated trying to get this to work here. My camera coloring is all off and screwy. Oh, it's been a rough go trying to get it up. So we're off to a good start for 2019. All right, where was I? We're talking about weather. So I haven't seen, usually there's some pictures out. I think somebody tweeted some pictures out, but I haven't actually seen them yet. But usually you'd see a little bit of fog this time of day, especially at Vandenberg. You get a little bit of fog that comes off from Vandenberg. Oh, and there's Howell Shane says it's foggy and expecting winds and rain. Yeah, so they are expecting a little bit of winds today. So whether or not that will be acceptable or not, we'll find out here. So far, they are go for fueling. Which is a good sign. Usually, like I always say, they're going to really give it a try once they start putting fuel into the rocket, the RP1 rocket grade kerosene and the liquid oxygen. Once they start loading that into the rocket, then they're really pushing for a launch today. So they have started that. They're going to start. They started that a few minutes ago, and then we'll just see if they can proceed with the entire countdown. So. Howell Shane says fog is an understatement. I haven't seen any pictures yet. Normally I would have gone and looked at pictures ahead of time just to see what it looks like out there. But I was having so much trouble with my broadcast software this morning that I really didn't have time to go look at it. I barely made the launch. It made my broadcast time that I was going for as I was struggling trying to get everything put together because it didn't want to work for me today. So anyways, all right. So, yeah, it might be tough to see somebody. Eagle Swords USA on Periscope says Central Valley of California is very foggy, so we'll not see the launch. Yeah, it might be a little bit tough to see the launch if it's a little foggy. You may possible. I don't know what it looks like out there. I guess I can't really say any possibilities, but a lot of times you can see it once it gets way up into the atmosphere. But if it's foggy where you are, might not be able to see it. But let's see. When will the liftoff be? So I added a new countdown here up at the top here. So there's our time to liftoff. That's a rough idea on the time to countdown. That should be pretty accurate. I tried to get it right down to the second. We'll see how close that is once SpaceX goes live. But that should be right down to the second as far as time to launch. So we're about 26 minutes to launch here for SpaceX. They'll go live about 15 minutes before launch, and hopefully we'll go all the way down to 0. We won't have any holes. And I'm I'm going to try not to sniffle in the microphone. I've got a little bit of a cold. It's a mess today. We got broadcast issues. I got a little bit of a cold. I'm sniffling all day. My eyes are red. Oh my goodness, what a tough day this is going to be trying to broadcast. But I'm going to try not to sniffle too much in the microphone, but it's going to be tough here. All right, so let's see. So what I want to show. All right, let's go on. Let's move on. Whew. I feel like I'm all over the map here this morning, trying to keep it together. No Model X today. Second time this booster is going up and down. That is true. This is a reused booster. So here's Iridium 8's mission patch here, which I love. I think this is fantastic. SpaceX is really doing an awesome job with their mission patches lately. This is another fantastic mission patch here. And here, let's switch over. Let's see a couple things for today's launch. So somebody said this is a reused booster, so that'll segue us into the stats for today's launch. So this is the 73rd SpaceX launch, 67th Falcon 9, 14th SpaceX launch from Vandenberg, the first Falcon 9 launch, the first SpaceX launch overall for this year. It's also the first U.S. launch for this year for any U.S. provider. We've got United Launch Alliance, which has been trying to launch the National Reconnaissance mission for weeks and weeks now, but that is indefinitely delayed until I think at least February, I believe is the last I heard for United Launch Alliance. So they're having some issues with trying to get their launch going. They were supposed to be back in November, and then it got pushed to December, and then it was going to be the end of December, and then it was going to be right around this time frame, and now it's been pushed out a whole bunch of times here now. So we're going to see if they can get the National Reconnaissance mission going. This is the second journey to space for this flight-proven Block 5 booster. This is booster 1049 that's launching today. And 30-some asked on Periscope, are they going to do the launch on the 17th in Port Canaveral? So the launch on the 17th was supposed to be the demonstration mission, the uncrewed demonstration mission of the crew capsule. That will not be happening on the 17th. That has been pushed to February at the earliest, no earlier than February. They haven't set a specific date. A couple issues working there. They're trying to do some more fit checks and make sure that everything is all set from the SpaceX side. Then you also have this issue with the U.S. government partial shutdown that's happened right now that is potentially going to affect that. It doesn't affect today's launch because all they need today is the Air Force support, the 30th Space Wing out at Vandenberg. They do all the weather and range supports for SpaceX. They are still operating, even though we've got this partial U.S. government shutdown. The Department of Defense is fully funded, and that includes the Air Force, which includes the 30th Space Wing. So all good, no problems there. What it doesn't include, though, is a lot of the NASA employees, which are needed for the uncrewed mission, the uncrewed demo flight that was supposed to be on the 17th. So it's going to be interesting to see how that partial U.S. government shutdown might affect that demonstration flight that was supposed to be on the 17th. Now, no earlier than February. They've said the reason for no earlier than February is because of some additional checks and testing that SpaceX is going to do. So it doesn't sound like that push is due to this partial government shutdown, at least not yet. That could change at some point. We'll see. It depends on how long this goes for. So let's see what's on board. Somebody says, so this is the Iridium 8 mission. I think we started talking about this at the beginning a little bit, but Iridium, this is a constellation of communication satellites. So this is the grand finale. This is the final launch of this constellation of satellites. At the end of today's launch, there will now be 75 Iridium satellites in polar orbit around the U.S. They started back with Iridium 1, and they've continued on. This is now Iridium 8. Each one had roughly 5 to 10 satellites on board, and now today has 10. This will be the last 10 that will be put into orbit for a total of 75 Iridium communication satellites in polar orbit that are essentially they will pretty much cover the entire globe so that there's always an Iridium satellite overhead. Now, out of those 75 satellites, this is something interesting that I find is out of the 75 satellites, only 66 of them will be operational and in use. So 66 of them are actually in use and working at all times. The other 9 are in-orbit spares. They've launched them up there just to be a spare satellite, which is kind of crazy to me. But so there's 9 in-orbit spares that will not be part of the operational communications constellation, but will be there in case they're needed. Then in addition to that, they also made another 6, I believe it's 6, another 6 ground spares, meaning satellites that they have not launched into orbit, but they already made the satellites. So there's another 6 here on the ground on standby that can launch on another SpaceX mission if something goes wrong and they're needed. So that's what's on board today. Let's see, what else did we miss? Are we still a go for this mission? Yeah, so far we're still a go. Have not heard anything to indicate otherwise. Let's see. All right, so we can also check out. All right, so here's our timeline for today. This is a typical timeline for a Block 5 booster for SpaceX. We've started the fueling process. They're going to take us all the way to launch, hopefully at T0. We'll have liftoff, we'll have max Q, we'll have separation of the first stage, and then that first stage is going to do another landing. This will be the second landing for the second flight of this reused booster here. So they're going to do a landing on the autonomous spaceport drone ship. Just read the instructions. That is the West Coast drone ship. It's called Just Read the Instructions. That is out in the Pacific Ocean, ready for it to land. Interesting note is this is going to do a boost back burn. So a lot of times when you land in the ocean, they don't do a boost back burn. So a boost back burn meaning the rocket's going to go up, kind of curves like this. And a lot of times when they're doing a drone ship landing, they'll separate and then they'll just let it keep falling ballistically, and then they'll do an entry burn to slow down and then a landing burn to actually land it. In this case, they're going to do a boost back burn, which you see a lot of times on the return to launch site landings, where they'll go up, they'll separate, they'll turn it around and boost back towards the launch site and then land. I can't contort my hand like that. So there is a boost back burn. It's going to head a little bit back towards the launch sites, not all the way back to the launch site because this is a drone ship landing out in the ocean. So speaking of which, we can take a look at that. Let's see, where's my map of what's happening here today? Here, let's full screen this guy here. And we can switch over to this so you can see here. So this is the map of what's happening here today. So when I was talking about those boost back burns, I'll make sure, hold on, I'm trying to get my stream was not HD quality for SpaceX. I want to get that set. So, okay, so when I'm talking about that boost back burn and where it's landing, so here's the launch site here on the West Coast here at Vandenberg Air Force Base. This Launch Complex 4, Slick 4. Here's the landing zone over here on the left side. We're not using this today, but they did use that once, but just in case you're curious. But here's where the launch site is. They'll be launching from there. They're going to head off in a pretty much directly south direction. It's got a little bit of an eastern tilt to it. This green area, these are hazard maps. So this is indicating where the ocean and air hazards are, the areas to stay out of. And then over here is where we've got, this is the drone ship right here. This blue pin is where the drone ship is. And over here, these are the hazards for where the fairing is coming down. Now, as far as the fairing is concerned, I do not know of any, or at least I've heard that there is no fairing recovery today. So I don't expect Mr. Steven to make an appearance today. Mr. Steven, interestingly enough, was out in the ocean yesterday doing a drop test and testing recovery yesterday. But from what I've heard, he's not going to be recovering or attempting to recover the fairing today. We'll see. Maybe they'll surprise us with a Mr. Steven appearance, but I don't believe so because I don't believe you can generally track ship positioning through marinetraffic.com. But I don't believe Mr. Steven is even anywhere close to in position to even attempt a fairing recovery today. So that's unfortunate. We won't see that, especially after they just tweeted out that awesome video of the almost catch in their last drop test. They're getting so close to that, but they're not quite there yet. So anyways, this is where the fairing is going to come down in the safety area for the booster landing and the fairing. And then if we zoom way out, you'll see way over here on the right-hand side, this is where the second stage will re-enter and burn up and crash into the ocean. So it's going to head down this direction. It's going to go over Antarctica, and then it kind of reappears on this side, coming this direction, and then the second stage will end up down here in the ocean. I don't know. It may actually make a full orbit first and then come here. I'm not. So anyways, that's our map for today's launch here. I'll switch it back over to here to the timeline while I get things situated. Oh, and we've got, looks like SpaceX is going to go live. So we'll switch over to this. Also, make sure you stick around for some of the giveaways, because we will be doing some giveaways. If we get a successful launch, we'll do some giveaways on the YouTube channel after launch with the return of the beach ball. The Parker Solar Pro beach ball is back. We're going to give one of those away today here after the launch, hopefully if we get a successful launch here today. So we'll give that a shot, and I'm going to get switched over here.
At a live view of the Falcon 9 rocket on the pad at our Vandenberg Air Force Base launch site as we prepare for liftoff a little over 15 minutes from now. Good morning from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. I'm John Isbrucker, the Falcon Principal Integration Engineer, and I'd like to welcome you to the webcast of the Iridium 8 mission. And a particularly special welcome to CEO Matt Desch and the nearly 250 Iridium guests who made the trip out west to watch today's launch. This is the final in a series of 8 launches for our customer Iridium to build their new satellite network, Iridium NEXT. Our first launch for Iridium was the Iridium 1 mission, which took place on January 14, 2017, almost 2 years from today. Now on this final mission, we're flying 10 Iridium NEXT satellites to join the 65 satellites previously placed in orbit by SpaceX. Today's launch is scheduled for 7:31 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 15 hours, 31 minutes Universal Time. Now, as you can see on the timeline bar at the bottom of the display, this is a long mission. Today's webcast will last over an hour. Now, following stage separation, we'll be attempting recovery of the first stage on our West Coast drone ship. Just read the instructions. Now, for the music fans out there, Iridium has curated another special Spotify playlist to go along with today's launch. To play along at home, search for the Iridium 8 Launch Soundtrack playlist and get ready to start the playlist at exactly T-minus 12 minutes and 55 seconds before liftoff, just about 30 seconds from now.
Yeah, so it actually doesn't look too foggy out there, which is kind of nice. We got a good view of the rocket. We've had some launches where you can't even see the rocket. It's so foggy. You just see, they switch to this camera view and it's just white or just a cloud. You can't even see anything. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised. No fog today, or not too much.
At our launch site, Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Air Force Base, a place where I worked years ago flying Titan 3s. Now, it's just a few hours up the coast from our headquarters here in Hawthorne, California. Now, on the screen, you can see the 2-stage Falcon 9 vehicle on the pad. It stands 70 meters tall. That's over 21 stories in height. Now, the first stage will provide the initial force to get Falcon 9 out of the majority of Earth's atmosphere. Now, you can see in the first stage the soot. That indicates that this booster has flown before. It previously supported the Telstar 18 Vantage mission in September out of Cape Canaveral. So today will be the second flight of that first stage. Now, about 2.5 minutes into flight, the first and second stages will separate. That happens right at the joint between that black part of the rocket and then the white second stage up at the very top. Once that happens, the first stage will be coming back. We're attempting to land the booster out at sea on our drone ship, located about 250 kilometers downrange. Now from there, we'll follow the second stage as it takes the 10 Iridium NEXT satellites from the edge of space to their intended orbit. Now we'll see the first shutdown of the second stage, then we're going to have a 43-minute coast phase, before we relight the engine for a short burn, and that will then lead up to deployment of the Iridium satellites. Now those satellites are currently housed at the top of the rocket. You can see in the close-up the 17-foot diameter payload fairing with the Iridium NEXT 8 logo on it. Now for those of you who are wondering, there's no parachute on the fairing on this mission, so we won't be attempting fairing recovery this time around. But there still is a lot going on for this flight. Finally, the structure you can see, that truss structure next to the Falcon 9 rocket in white, that's the transporter erector. It carries the rocket from the hangar to the pad, and at about T-minus 15 hours, it raised it to the vertical position. That erector carries the plumbing and the electrical systems that are routed to the Falcon 9 and the Iridium satellites. Shortly before launch, at about T-minus 4 minutes, that erector will move 13 degrees away from the rocket. That's a little different than our East Coast launch pads that move away at liftoff.
Yeah, so as I suspected, no fairing recovery today. They will not have Mr. Steven out to do a catch. No parachute at all, so it doesn't even sound like they're going to do a soft water landing and try to bring it in with just a regular support ship. So looks like this is just going to be a completely expended fairing, which just 2 years ago or even a year ago would have been considered normal. Nobody would have even thought twice about it, but now we're kind of like, oh,
10 minutes, 15
they're not recovering
seconds,
the fairing.
counting down. And as I like to report on the webcast, the good news, team is working, no issues on the rocket. Falcon 9, we began loading propellants at T-minus 35 minutes. Currently, the second stage fuel tank is fully loaded with RP-1 kerosene. Fueling is still going on the first stage. That'll finish about 6 minutes before launch. Liquid oxygen loading is underway on both the first and the second stage right now. Now our next major activity coming up in just under 3 minutes is opening the valves between the first stage propellant tanks and the engines. That allows us to chill the turbopumps prior to the ignition sequence that starts in the last couple of seconds of the countdown. On the customer side, the Iridium team has transferred to internal power at T-minus 15 minutes. They're reporting no issues. They're monitoring the satellites, but they are ready for launch at 31 minutes after the hour. Today we're operating out of Vandenberg and flying over the Western Range. We get similar support for our Eastern Range launches. Today the Air Force is giving us clearance of both the air and the sea space, and they are providing weather support, launching the balloons we need to understand what's happening at the upper altitudes. And speaking of the weather, we all talk about it, but we only can wait and watch what happens with it. Currently the upper altitude looks good. We are watching ground winds at the lower altitude at the launch pad site. I've been looking at that on my telemetry plot. We had a peak a little bit earlier, but the winds seem to be dying down a bit. But we're going to be watching that, especially as we retract the erector about 4.5 minutes from now. But currently the weather looks like it's cooperating. Now, in order to correctly position the satellites, the SpaceX team has to launch right on time. So therefore, today's launch window is instantaneous. If we delay for any reason, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at 7:25 a.m. Pacific time.
So just in case you're curious here, I'm going to slide my wind map here over the top of the broadcast here real quick. See if I can not break this. Oh, hello. There we go. So in case you're curious here, this is what the winds are looking like here down.
As many of you remember from our previous webcast,
down on the west
Iridium
coast here,
operates
so
a network of 66 satellites in low Earth orbit. Now, including today's flight, we will have sent up enough satellites to replace the original 66, plus an additional 9 in-orbit spares, for a total of 75 Iridium NEXT satellites. Now in space, each Iridium NEXT satellite is cross-linked to 4 other satellites. That creates a dynamic mesh network that provides coverage over 100% of the Earth's surface. This network allows Iridium to deliver high-quality mobile voice and data coverage to the most remote edges of the planet, from the North and South Poles to the oceans and the airways. Iridium NEXT significantly enhances their ability to meet the growing demand for global mobile communications. Let's learn more about Iridium NEXT.
Oh, I'm going to have to turn this down because of the music here. As usual, YouTube will freak out if I play this music, even though they are talking over it. So if you want to hear what they're talking about and you want to see this video, you could definitely check out the SpaceX stream, which will highlight this, and you can watch this whole thing with it all. But fortunately, YouTube doesn't like us little guys playing the music that we're not authorized to play. I wish I could just strip out the music just so I could hear them, just listen to them talk. But essentially, they're explaining the Iridium network, and they're talking about how it covers 100% of the Earth, which is kind of cool for the Iridium constellation. All right, I have to make this quiet in my ear. So one thing he did talk about, of course I closed it now, I can't show you, but they're actually looking at ground level winds, which was that map that I showed you real quick. Let's see if I can pull it back up here. While that's playing here, I'll switch over. We'll switch over to this screen here while that video's playing. We'll come back here in just a second here, but these are the ground level winds that we're looking at here right now. So I was trying to show you real quick because I didn't know if I'd have any time to show you, but these are ground level winds that I'm showing here right now. You can see this patch here of pretty hefty ground level winds there, where they're hitting just offshore. They're hitting 45, 50, 60 miles per, getting close to 60 miles per hour. So those are pretty quick there. And so your launch site is right about here on the map. So you want to try to keep all this offshore, especially since the trajectory is heading this direction. But you can see there's a little bit of greenish yellow here starting to show up close to the launch site, indicating a little quicker winds. That's kind of getting into the getting into 20 to 30, 35 miles per hour there. On those ground level winds. So that's what they're actually watching. The upper level winds, they said, seem to be fine. It's the ground level winds they seem to have a concern with at the moment. So hopefully all goes well here. They're still counting, and we're down to about 4.5 minutes here until launch. So no issues so far, but they can go all the way down to T-minus 30 seconds before they can scrub a launch for wind conditions. And so hopefully they don't do that, but they can if they absolutely have to. Obviously nobody wants to see that, but on the other hand, you don't want to see a big boom either. Oh.
We are ready to go.
You guys can't
the
hear that.
range reports
Sorry.
that everything looks clear for launch, and the weather has continued to cooperate. The ground winds are high, but it looks like we're within limits, but we're going to be watching those all the way in the last few minutes here. But right now, everything looking good for an on-time
Oh no. What happened to my
launch just
screen?
after
Oh.
31 minutes after the hour. Now, as a reminder, we have a backup launch window. If anyone calls hold, that backup is tomorrow, about 5 minutes earlier than today. But for now, everything looking good. We're going to listen and watch on the final minutes of the countdown of Falcon 9 with Iridium NEXT.
All right, so now we're down to 2.5 minutes. Sorry, I forgot to turn the sound back up. I could hear it in my ear, but you guys couldn't hear it. Forgot to turn it back up on the stream. But hopefully you guys should be good now. Should be hearing it. But we will. We're about 2 minutes here. So far, they haven't really said too much in terms of concerns for winds. So crossing your fingers that we got no issues for winds here. Transport erector is tilted back and ready to let this thing fly here.
Stage 2 LOX loads closed out.
It's a pretty beautifully clear morning there. I was expecting a lot more
Falcon
fog
9 is on internal power.
this time of day. Not so much. This is an early morning. It's 7:30 in the morning here on the West Coast. This is the last big, you can kind of see it, there's the last big liquid oxygen vent, completely normal. That always happens right at about a minute and a half before launch. So that's the last big vent that we'll see. It's draining, as he had mentioned, I don't know if you could hear it because I think I had the audio down, but it's basically draining all the liquid oxygen
Falcon 9 is in startup.
lines in the transport erector. There you go, 45 seconds.
This is Launch Director. Falcon 9, go for launch.
Go for launch. Passing 30 seconds.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Vehicles configured for flight.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Liftoff of Falcon 9.
No pad mics today. Kind of muted.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Stage 1 props nominal.
Look at that, crystal clear this morning. You can see it perfectly. That's awesome. Oh, a little bit of stutter there. Don't do that. Some weird sounds I can hear in my earpiece.
T plus 40 seconds, and Falcon 9 is on its way with a countdown of the last 10 seconds by Iridium CEO Matt Desch.
Oh, that was Matt Desch doing the
throttling
countdown.
down now in preparation for the period of maximum dynamic pressure.
Vehicle supersonic.
There was some question
Proceed
on
on countdown 1, first motion time 15:31:33.492 UTC.
Calling out the time there of liftoff over the net.
Acquisition of signal.
We're through the period of maximum dynamic pressure.
Maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Merlin engines continuing to perform at 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Falcon 9 heading out into the upper atmosphere. Nice view from the first stage camera looking aft.
So just prior to
Headed
2.5
south from
minutes.
Vandenberg Air Force Base, Space Launch Complex 4 East.
It's a phone
Back engine chill.
The
not my
MVAC
fault.
engine cheer call out indicates that we have now opened up the oxygen that goes to the pump on the second stage engine, chilling it down for ignition coming up about a minute from now.
2.5 minutes, just under 2.5 minutes. 2:27 is when they're expecting separation.
We're hearing
or
good
engine
call
cutoff.
outs. Propulsion looks nominal. The trajectory looks good. Now coming up will be rapid fire events. Main engine cutoff. We shut down the 9 Merlin 1D engines. At 2.5 minutes, we will separate the stages. We'll light the second stage engine. And at just a little bit after that, we'll relight 3 engines on the first stage to begin slowing it down for a landing in the Pacific Ocean on our drone ship.
We should have cutoff any second here. Separation.
Separation confirmed.
There it is. Turn around for the boost back burn there. You see it turning around.
And back ignition.
Stage 1 has entered its flip.
So we've had successful shutdown of the first stage. It's separated. It's doing the flip to reorient, and it's lit its 3 engines to begin slowing it down to come to the drone ship. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side of the display, second stage engine has ignited. Begin propelling the Iridium satellites. You can see them there as we get ready for fairing separation.
Fairing separation confirmed. Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
A lot of events happening. You saw the fairing separate, and you can see one half of the fairing drifting away behind the second stage on the right-hand side of the display. On the left side, we've had shutdown from the boost back burn, and you can see the titanium grid fins slowly extending. That's nominal for those grid fins. The white flashing you see, that is attitude control gas, nitrogen, that's used to orient the first stage.
Yeah, so now it's doing that boost back burn. You got the grid fins out, and hopefully we have a better landing than the last time. The last one we had was a CRS mission, which missed the landing due to a failed grid fin.
We're coming up 4 minutes into flight. In about a minute and a half, the first stage will initiate a quick re-entry burn to again slow the rocket down as it re-enters Earth's atmosphere. A minute later, we'll perform the final burn, the landing burn, which will decelerate the vehicle to a gentle landing atop our drone ship. Just read the instructions. Now, as a reminder, recovery is always a secondary objective to our primary goal of delivering our customers' satellites to orbit. Views you have right now, the camera on the left is looking up the inner stage where there used to be a second stage. Now we're looking at the grid fins with the Pacific Ocean in the background. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, the MVAC-D second stage engine running about 200,000 pounds of thrust in the vacuum of space. You can see the nozzle glowing red hot. That's nominal for that nozzle. We're about half a minute away from the entry burn. This one will also be a 3-engine burn. That'll slow the vehicle down as we go to subsonic speeds, and then eventually a final burn a little bit after that to land on the drone ship. Getting excellent views as the sun has risen recently over the west coast here in the United States.
Stage 1 entry burn has started.
The entry burn.
The entry burn on stage 1 has started. 3 engines up and running.
That's the end of that.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
And the entry burn shut down, called out over the countdown net, as you heard.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
So the flight termination system is safed.
Everything continuing to look good. First stage entry burn has ended. We're less than a minute until the third and final landing burn, followed by touchdown on the drone ship. And you can see the first stage descending back down through the atmosphere as it's coming up on the cloud deck. Now, as a reminder, we may lose live video coverage on the drone ship as the engine exhaust degrades the radio frequency signal. Now, if that happens, we'll share status updates on the first stage as they become available.
Yeah, it almost always cuts out on landing, so pretty much expect that it will cut out.
Drone ship AOS.
Drone ship AOS means the drone ship has acquired the signal.
Landing burn has started.
Grid fins are working hard. Look at them moving.
Center engine has lit. We're slowing ourselves down, preparing to find the drone ship right underneath us.
Well, losing signal.
You've got the camera view from the drone ship now.
Come on,
Waiting
let's
to see the first stage come into view.
Come on. Yeah.
And we're getting the signal dropout, which is not unusual. We're going to keep pressing on. We have not heard confirmation.
Falcon 9 has landed. Landing operators moving.
Yeah.
There you go. We heard the call out from recovery. Falcon 9 has landed. We hope to get a shot of it on the deck of the drone ship a little bit later, but we can confirm we're down with the first stage. We're pressing on the second stage mission. Currently, trajectory looks good. We've begun throttling down the Merlin vacuum engine, maintaining the G load on the Iridium NEXT satellites. And we've got the view back from this drone ship. There it is, right in the middle of the bullseye. The first stage is back again down on Earth. Meanwhile, second stage is getting ready in less than 20 seconds for shutdown and entry into the parking orbit.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
So we should have shutdown. Shutdown's like 8:46, so pretty much like right now. That was the expected shutdown. A lot of times it can.
Coming up on shutdown of the second stage engine, and we've had shutdown.
MVAC shutdown.
There we go.
Now we're going to wait for the guidance officer to give us a report on the orbit.
Listening for good orbital insertion.
Also signal Hawthorne as expected.
Looking up right now.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Nominal orbit.
It sounds like we have a good orbit insertion. Looking at apogee, perigee, inclination, everything's looking good. So we're 9.5 minutes into flight. We've got a satisfactory parking orbit. We're now going to go into a coast phase. This is about a 43-minute period while we coast over to Africa, where we will then relight the upper stage engine and then eventually deploy the 10 Iridium NEXT satellites. So we're going to halt live commentary right now. Going to take a break. We'll be back, though, at T plus 50 minutes to continuing coverage of the Falcon 9 mission for Iridium 8.
All right, so there we go. They are down to, or they're in their in the parking orbit, and then they're going to they'll have one more engine burn at about 51 minutes into the flight. So when that clock is T plus 51 minutes, they're going to do another second stage burn, and then that's going to be a really short burn. That's only like it's 3 seconds. 3-second burn. So they do a really quick burn to get into their final parking orbit that they want, and then the deployment begins at 56 minutes and will go back to all the way up to about an hour and 12 minutes to get all the satellites deployed. And so we'll stick around here for a little while. We got some giveaways here to give out. We got some stuff to chat about. We got some stuff that got released by SpaceX that we can pull up and look at and chat with together. Hopefully I can make it through it all and try not, I'm like sniffling, I'm sneezing over here. I'm trying. Oh man, but it seems to be a little bit better here now. So, and I did see a couple questions here come through on the stream while they were launching that I do want to get back to. I also see Jade Bell 805 said they watched it from their backyard. It was absolutely a beautiful day for a launch. That's amazing. I'm super jealous that you were able to watch that from your backyard. I wish I could just go out in my backyard and watch these. That would be awesome. Let's see. What happened with landing on land? So SpaceX has two different methods of landing and recovering their boosters. They've got the drone ship landing and they've got return to launch site landings. They can generally only do the return to launch site landing, which is the landing on land, if they have enough fuel. A lot of times they don't have enough fuel. It takes a lot more fuel to land on land because you have to do a much longer boost back burn than we saw today. The least amount of fuel is actually the ballistic trajectory where they land on the drone ship and they do it way out in the ocean, because then they don't have to do a boost back burn at all. They just do two burns. They do the entry burn and the landing burn. Instead of today, we saw a little bit of a boost back burn. That just gets it closer to, they've got a little bit of extra fuel. They can push it closer back to the launch site. Just save some of the crew from having to go out there quite as far. So they did a little bit of a boost back burn, then they do an entry burn and then a landing burn. So 3 burns today. But if you're going to return to the launch site and land on land, they've got to do a really long boost back burn to completely nullify that horizontal velocity that the rocket wants to go the opposite direction with the satellite. They got to nullify that and start heading back towards the launch site and then do the entry and landing burn. Takes a lot of fuel. So they can only do that on missions that don't require a lot of fuel. Usually, most commonly, you see those on like the CRS missions, which is the cargo or commercial resupply missions for the space station. They almost always do a return to launch site landing on the CRS missions because they don't need a lot of fuel to get their Dragon, the cargo Dragon, into the orbit with the space station. So they have enough fuel that they can turn it around, send it back to the launch site, and land on land. Or if you see in the last CRS mission, they missed it and they landed on water, but that was due to a failed grid fin. We could probably take a look at that today. We got some time. We can check it out. Yeah, they missed the landing due to a failed grid fin, landed in the water, but that's entirely and exactly what is planned and what they want to have happen if something like a grid fin fails. The Falcon 9 always targets the water first, and the grid fins push the Falcon 9 towards the landing site to land on land. In this case, the grid fin couldn't push it to the landing site, so it just nosedived into the water, which is great, safer for everybody, lands in the water, no big deal. Actually did a soft landing in the water, almost stood straight up and just floated there, but obviously tipped over and a little bit of damage, and probably not going to be reusable because it floated for a long time, took on a lot of seawater. But let's see. I saw another question that somebody had mentioned. What's the Iridium mission? Yep, so this is a gigantic communication satellite network that covers 100% of the Earth. So there are, I mentioned it before the launch, there are after these are deployed today, this will complete the Iridium NEXT constellation, which is the next generation of the Iridium constellation that's replacing the current generation. And it will be there will be 75 communication satellites in orbit after today. Once these get deployed, 66 of them will be operational satellites, 9 in-orbit spares, and then there's 6 more that are on the ground ready to launch if something goes wrong and they need it. Oh, Pico Man said not a nosedive though. You're right, technically not a nosedive. It went engine first and landed. So yeah, you're right. It wasn't technically a nosedive that they did. Let's see. So what did I miss on comments here? And going back, somebody commented, oh, Steve McMaster says all this tech and can only stream in 720p. Yeah, unfortunately, I can only stream in 720p. SpaceX does have it in 1080. I can only stream in 720, and that I could go into it for a long time, but it's mostly to do with the fact that we're simulcasting on multiple platforms, and not all of them support 1080. And in addition to that, our amazing internet here in Rochester, New York, is not that great. So I barely have enough bandwidth to do 720p, and I don't have any more available to me in my area. So yeah, if I could get some better bandwidth, and I would do it in a heartbeat. But yeah. Too foggy to see here in the Central Valley. Bummer, Michael. Sorry that you couldn't see it. Somebody asked about the antenna shaking. Not convinced on the interference. Yeah. So essentially, the exhaust from the engine is, I mean, there's a lot of sound there. There's a lot of vibration. That's why they have the sound suppression water system that deploys at launch. I mean, the rocket exhaust is very, very powerful. And to do that sort of communication, especially live streaming video, you got to have a pretty stable broadcast and reception antenna. In this case, the drone ship would be the broadcast antenna. But I mean, even just a little bit of shaking, especially if it's not predictable and you can't sort of lock onto it, is gonna interrupt that signal there. And in addition to that, it's not really not really a huge priority for SpaceX to have that live stream. I mean, it's a secondary mission for them in the first place. So, like, yeah, they want to recover the booster, but it's not the primary mission. And in addition to the secondary mission, the broadcasting of the landing is secondary to the secondary mission. It's not even, so as long as they get it back, like, that's their main concern. I'm sure they probably even have additional videos video feed that they don't share with us. At least they did in some of the earlier days. I don't know if they still do that, but a lot of times the support ships, like the tugs that would accompany the drone ships would also film the landing. They just wouldn't broadcast it. So they probably have, SpaceX probably has enough video, and I'm sure they can recover the video from the drone ship, the uninterrupted video, and that's all they really need if they're going to do post-flight analysis. They got all the video they need. They're showing it to us just because it's nice to see, but to be honest, it's not a huge priority for them. So let's see. Tori, so you have bad internet in the US? Yeah, I don't have great internet. The best I have is 100 megabits down and 10 megabits up. That's the best I can get. So download speed is great, just fine, but the upload speed, 10 megabits upload speed is not great, especially when I'm streaming to YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, and Twitch all at the same time. I got 4 uplink streams going all at the same time. It really strains the bandwidth quite a bit. So yeah, I don't have great internet here, unfortunately. Wish I could get better. We're supposed to be getting better internet sometime. I don't know. It's not available yet. Let's see. Can you see our comments? Says Luxy Lion. Yes, I see your comments, Luxy. Luxilian. I'm not sure. This is on Periscope. Thanks for doing this broadcast, says Airline Flyer. Yeah, thanks for hanging out here for a little bit. We got a little ways to go before we see deployment. We're going to do some giveaways here in just a minute. Just want to make sure. There was another question about our weather balloons that I wanted to answer, but I can't find where it is. Let's see. Somebody asked me about our weather balloons, and I remember seeing it during the launch, and I went, oh, that's a good question. I want to get back to that. Oh, there it is. Eurico Roberto. When you launch one of your balloons and it reaches the point where it bursts, what would happen if you just released some of the pressure? Could you ever get to a point where it just floats in low Earth orbit? So here's the thing about balloons and the way that balloons rise in the atmosphere is it's not just enough. You can't just have helium in there. Helium alone will work to a certain point. So the way a balloon, so this for those of you who don't know, most of what we do is fly high altitude weather balloons with cameras and computers and all that kind of stuff on there. That's how we got started in this. SpaceX also does it to measure launch conditions, upper level winds. They launch a ton of weather balloons. Actually, SpaceX doesn't themselves. The Air Force does it for SpaceX. So the 30th Space Wing would have launched a bunch of weather balloons this morning in preparation for this launch. So one of the questions, and it's a pretty common question, a lot of people ask this, is why can't you just get a bigger balloon? Or why can't you just relieve some of the pressure and just have it keep going forever and just get it into space? Well, the way balloons rise in the atmosphere is by displacing the air around it. So it's basically, it's like buoyancy in the water, just this is happening in the air. So if you think of the air more like a water, like a fluid, the way that the balloon rises, this is rising above the air around it. And in order to continue to rise, it has to displace more air than its own mass. So the balloon has to expand in order to rise, especially as it gets higher in the atmosphere. The air gets thinner. There's not as much air to displace. So in order to displace that same amount of air, that same volume of air, the balloon has to expand and get bigger so it can continue displacing that same volume of air and continue rising. So a couple people have asked, well, why don't you just make an unbreakable balloon? Well, if you made an unbreakable balloon, eventually it would get to the point where it doesn't expand anymore. They actually have those. They're called super pressure balloons. And once the balloon stops expanding, it doesn't matter how much helium is in there. You can put a ton of helium in there. If the balloon doesn't expand, it will not rise. So the same works for Eurico's question there. If you eliminate some pressure, you need the pressure to push the balloon out to expand it so it can displace more air. And eventually you get to the point where the air is so thin in the upper atmosphere that either you'd have to expand the balloon so much that you would just need a ridiculously huge balloon, or it just expands too much where it breaks, which is what happens to our balloons, and then it comes back down. So that's essentially the the basic science that's happening behind weather balloons that are rising in the atmosphere is it's not just the helium that makes them go up, it's the expanding balloon that makes it go up. So anyways, this is a good question a lot of people ask. So, some people commenting on my sniffling. I'm sorry. I'm trying. It's that time of year. I got a little bit of a cold. Somebody said get Tori some sanitizer. He's giving me the sniffles. And then what Gregorius said, good thing the flu isn't an STD, a stream transmittable disease. Yeah, don't worry. You can't catch it here. I can't transmit it through the power of the internet, so you will not catch it. You just have to bear with me while I try not to sniffle into the microphone, although it's really tough. I do try to mute it anytime I have to sniffle. It's like my cough button. Although I'm not coughing, I'm just sniffling and sneezing. Hopefully I get past it soon. I was fine like a week ago, and then just like 2 days ago, all of a sudden this came on. But it is what it is. So Jason said, let's launch a Mylar HAB. That's essentially what the super pressure balloons are. Is people do actually launch Mylar balloons with helium in there, and they're intended to be long duration flights. So if you launch a Mylar balloon, usually what you have to do is you'd only fill the Mylar balloon like halfway. You don't want to fill it the whole way. You just want to fill it halfway, and you need a super, super light payload, like something that's just a couple of grams. Then you can launch it up in the atmosphere, and it'll get to like 40 or 50,000 feet, and then it stops rising because the helium inside expands, and the balloon does not, and so it'll just hold. It'll hold right there, and it won't rise anymore. And you can get, there's I forget what the guy's name is on Twitter. I wish I could remember his Twitter handle. I'm sure I could look it up, but there's a guy out there that's had a super pressure balloon, just a Mylar balloon, that has circled the Earth like, I don't know, 20 times now at this point, and it's still communicating. It's got this itty bitty tiny microcontroller payload on it. There's no cameras or anything, but it's just a radio transmitter, and it's like circled the entire Earth like 20 times now, and it's been going for like a year or two. It's crazy. So yeah, it's kind of we would love to do that at some point. We may do that. Haven't gotten into kind of those long duration balloons yet, but I'm sure we will at some point. But yeah, because those are kind of cool, especially if you can get one that continually transmits its radio signal and goes all around the world. Actually, there's a gentleman named Mike that lives not too far from us. He did one of those long duration super pressure balloons, and it failed. It went all the way around the Earth, failed, and landed only like 5 or 6 hours from his house. And he tried to be the first person, at least the first one that I know of, and that I've been able to find. He would have been the first person to launch a balloon all the way around, launch a high altitude balloon all the way around the Earth and recover it. A lot of people do it, but they don't actually recover it themselves, at least. It's usually not worth it to try to do that yourself, but it was so close that he almost did it himself. Let's see, what's the highest possible altitude a balloon can float at? Well, theoretically, you can get up to 180,000 feet if you got a really crazy huge balloon, but usually, on average, the highest that I've seen that are in like kind of the normal balloon classification is maybe like 140,000 feet. I don't know, somebody have to convert that to meters for me. 140,000 feet to meters, that's about 42,600 meters. So 42.6 kilometers. That's about the highest that I've seen. We've never gotten anywhere close to that. Probably the highest that we could possibly get to would be about 120,000 feet, which is 36.5 kilometers. Our current highest that we've achieved is 112,500 feet, which is about 34.3 kilometers. So that's kind of those are our statistics there. So there you go. So JavaCat says, is this launching in 20 minutes? Nope, this is quite the opposite, JavaCat. Sorry, you missed the launch. It actually launched 20 minutes ago. We are in the T+ side of things, meaning the launch has happened and now the clock is counting up. Right now we're in a coast phase as it's heading towards Antarctica right now, and we'll be going around the bottom of the globe here and heading out the other side. We're in a long 50-minute coast phase before it actually deploys the 10 Iridium satellites. That's what we're waiting on here right now. Let's see. There was something else I was going to cover here on this topic. I don't recall. What did I miss? There was something. Called Michael Sharp's going back. He's asked about my internet connection. Said he has 450 megabits in rural California. Where are you? I'm in Rochester, New York. We have 100 megabits down, but only 10 megabits up. It's the upload speed that really kills me here on the stream. It's not the download speed. Pila only has 3 megabits upload. Oh, that sounds even worse. Well, it is worse, but it just that would be awful to have. I feel for you. Oh, somebody just, who else? I just saw it as I scrolled past it. Somebody said they had gigabit up and down. Oh, Chris Grant. He has gigabit up and down speed for internet in Tennessee. Oh, that just eats me alive there. I wish we could have gigabit internet here, but not available. Not available. Last Iridium launch. Yep, this is the last one. This is the grand finale here. And so what we're waiting on here, we'll throw the timeline up so you can see what we're waiting on. This is the timeline here, and we are actually here. We could probably even make this bigger. We'll get all the pre-launch stuff out of the way. Maybe, possibly. Is that going to be too big? Is it going to look weird if I do this? Nah, that'll be fine. Here, we'll go like this. We'll make it a little bigger so you can read it. But this is essentially where we are here right now. We could probably even go bigger than that. Let's go bigger. Go bigger, go home, right? There we go. It cuts off some of the wording, but essentially this is what we're on here right now. We're waiting. We're in that coast phase. We've done most of the launch, landing, and satellite deployments, but we're in that big coast phase. We're waiting for the 51-minute, 48-second mark for the second stage engine to restart. Quick 3-second burn, and then a couple of minutes, and then deployment will begin. Oh, you know what we should do? Let's do some giveaways here, right? That's what we're missing. So while we're in the coast phase, we'll wait on this coast phase here, and we should do some giveaways, right? Who doesn't like free stuff? So somebody tweeted out, I probably could do it as well, but let's see. So we'll do some giveaways here over on the YouTube channel here. So if you want to win some of the free stuff here that we're about to give away, almost forgot to give that stuff away. You got to head over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/OLHZN, and then all you have to do to be eligible to win a prize is throw in a comment on the YouTube channel. So you got to go to the YouTube channel. You got to go to this video on the YouTube channel. So so go to this video and throw in a comment on the video. You can just say hello. I mean, I don't have it tracking yet, so hold on. Your comments don't count yet. Hold on, let me start it up here. I just got to push the start tracking comments button here with our friendly Nightbot. So Nightbot is our automated moderator that will track who. There we go. Okay, so we're tracking comments here now on the YouTube channel. So any comments from here on out are good to go, and I'll give away some free stuff. And what are we giving away, you might ask? Well, we got a couple of things. Some of the things you've seen before. We got. Let's see. I got to open up my stuff here. So the big one here, we still got a couple of them left, not too many, we're getting down there, but I like sharing them, people like them, is the NASA TESS mission patch. We still got a couple left. We're sending out some mission patches here, so this is an official NASA TESS mission patch. It's getting chroma keyed out, it always does, I don't know why. This is actually blue, it's not this little swoosh here. Is actually blue. My chroma key with my green screen behind me, it likes to chroma key it out, but it is actually blue. So that's the first thing that we're going to give away. And we got some stickers to give away, and we're bringing back the Parker Solar Probe beach ball here, courtesy of United Launch Alliance. We'll send over there it is, the Parker Solar Probe beach ball. Parker Solar Probe launched in August, has already made one close approach with the sun. So this is a little probe, there it is right there on the side. But this little probe here that's basically monitoring, observing, and measuring the sun and the solar winds, and that will that's going to be up there for 7 years, making closer and closer approaches and trying to get closer and closer to the sun, which is kind of crazy. We've never done that before, but this little guy here has this gigantic heat shield on the front, kind of tucks all its stuff away behind the heat shield when it passes by, and points itself right directly at the sun, and it's flying really close. So we're gonna give one of those beach balls away here as well. Yeah, it looks like let's see. Oh, boy, some people want the tests. Tori, Alex Ziggyful says Tori the NASA Santa. And Gregorius is talking about where the giveaway is valid. Right. So unfortunately, it's very difficult to give away free stuff. Who would have thought? I don't know why it's so difficult, but there are apparently laws for this sort of thing that we have to follow. In order to give stuff, in order to win any of the free giveaway stuff, you have to be in the U.S., Canada, the European Union, or the UK. So those are the 4 big areas that we can send it to. There are some exceptions to that, like Quebec, and there's a couple of countries in the EU that are not eligible. Like I think it's Finland and Italy are not. Oh, there it is. Gregorius commented. Except the exceptions are Quebec, France, Sweden, and Italy. Okay, those are the exceptions. France, Sweden, Italy, and Quebec and Canada. Unfortunately, they have really strict laws that they don't allow us to give free stuff away. So there it is. All right. Somebody said they finally made it over from the Facebook page. I was trying to get. That's why I threw this little graphic on here. I was trying to help people out, help find where the giveaways were. So that I'll throw that graphic up again so that you can find us and figure out where to come enter for the giveaways. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to turn that back on. Oh, you guys can't hear it. I think I got it muted. So, okay. So anyways, Eureka says, when the UK leaves the EU, will we still be able to win prizes? So when Brexit happens, you still will be eligible as far as I'm aware. I believe you're still eligible. All right. So yeah, we got a bunch of people that are eligible here. And let me see, make sure that we're tracking everything all right. Yeah, we got a bunch of commenters here. Awesome. All right. Okay, so if you've won before, you are eligible to win again, as long as it's not the same thing. If it's the same thing, then we can switch it out for a different prize. But generally, we only send one type of prize to one person. But you can win more than once as long as it's different prices. So Helen Lloyd Photography. Come on, Nightbot, give me a patch, please. John, somebody wanted to know where the lobster was. The lobster is in his new home. The lobster was purchased in the auction last August. Last August, the lobster was purchased and sent off to his new home in Maine. None other than Maine, the big like lobster capital of the world, I feel like. So the space lobster is now living in his new home in Maine. We miss him dearly, but he has moved on. All right, I think we've kind of stalled enough. I'm trying to let people get their comments in so they can do it. But we'll give some stuff away here now. Let me pull up Nightbot here once again. Actually, here, let's put it. There we go. Let me get it all set up here. Okay, all right. Give me a patch. Says Sebastian. A lot of people looking for the patch. So okay, here we go. We got your comments in. We're ready to give it away. Make sure Nightbot is ready. Nightbot is ready. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, roll it. Hey, look at that. So there's our winner here. I haven't seen Nightbot comment here on it. Did Nightbot put the comment in? Well, I have a winner. I don't know if Nightbot just didn't comment. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so there, I don't know why it took Nightbot a second to comment, or at least for it to show up here on my end. But there you go. So there's our winner, Eurico Roberto, the one that asked the weather balloon question. So there you go. Congrats, Eurico. You've won yourself a NASA TESS mission patch. Nightbot has chosen you. You have been chosen by the Nightbot. So a NASA TESS mission patch coming your way. In order to get it, you got to send me a direct message either on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or go to YouTube, or go to overlookhorizon.com and use the contact us form. Just send me the address where you want it to go. So probably the easiest way, if you got a Twitter account, you can just follow OLHCN on Twitter, and you can send us a direct message there, and I just got to know where to send it to. So send me your address. We don't use it for anything, so we'll get that over to you. So congratulations to Eurico. All right, so a bunch of people are asking about the pins. I don't know where the pins are. They should be in my desk here somewhere. I didn't have the pin. I wasn't planning on giving away the pins. I don't know if I have the pins here. I was going to see if I could substitute one. I don't think I have them. They might be, I think they're stored away because I wasn't planning on giving away a pin today. Yeah, so no pin today. We'll do more. We'll do more pins. I'm definitely more limited on the pins. I don't have nearly as many pins. I only have a couple that I can give away. So we'll give away some more pins. You know what we should do? This will be my promise. And if I forget, you have to remind me. But for the SpaceX demo flight, assuming I can live stream that, I'm really hoping that they don't put it on a day that I can't live stream. But assuming I can live stream the uncrewed demo flight, I will give away a pin on for that one. We'll give away all the good stuff. We'll give away a patch, a beach ball, and a pin for the uncrewed demo flight. So we'll make sure to do that. How's that for a deal? I wasn't planning to give away any pins today. All right, what am I on to next here? What I do have, well, we'll do the beach ball next here. Everybody likes the beach ball, right? Oh, it's upside down. We'll give away a Parker Solar Pro beach ball. Remember the pins, somebody. Eurico's going to dedicate his patch. He's dedicating his patch to Nightbot, me, and his school science teacher, and all the space nerds out there. All right, awesome. Well, congrats, Eurico. All right, so we're going to give away a Parker Solar Probe beach ball here. Again, make sure your comments are in. It's still tracking them all, but yeah, beach ball time. Don't forget to give away a pen. Not a pen, a pin. A pin, like a lapel pin. I don't have any pens. I wish I had a pen to give away. You can always give away Kleenex at that time of year. I know, I'm sorry. All right, beach ball time. Let's give it away. Here we go. Beach balls for your pool. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, roll it. All right, there it is. Jade Bell. Jade Bell is going to win a Parker Solar Probe beach ball here. And we'll send that over to you. You just got to send a direct message to us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or overlookhorizon.com/contact. Send it to us on the contact form. Somehow, some way, you just got to tell me the address you want me to send it to, and as long as it's in our eligible areas, then we can send it. So so again, if you got to do it, probably Twitter is the easiest option. If you got one of those Twitter machines at home, you can Twitter machine me, get the direct message fired up, and send me over a Twitter cyber telegram, and I will I'll send that out to you in the physical mail. If anybody still knows what that is, it does go out in regular mail. All right, so let's do another. We'll do another giveaway here. So next thing, let me get it out of my bag. Next thing we'll do here. The next one is I always got to give away an Overlook Horizon sticker, right? That's what you're here for, is the Overlook Horizon sticker. Oh, hey, you're telling me the patch is better than the Overlook Horizon sticker? I'm still giving away a sticker. All right, Overlook Horizon sticker coming at you for the next winner here. All right, our next winner for the Overlook Horizon sticker is going to be there it is, John Link. John Link is our winner of the Overlook Horizon sticker. I feel like John Link has won before. I don't know if you won a sticker before, John, but you let me know if you won that before. I feel like John maybe won. I recognize the name. I feel like maybe he won something before. I'm not sure what, but you let me know if you won that before. If not, then send me a direct message. Again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, overlookhorizon.com/contact. Whatever you got to do, send me a location where you want your Overlook Horizon sticker to go to here. So, all right. So, reminder, we're gonna, I was gonna do another magnet here. What do you guys say? Here's our options. I'll give you options this time. We could give away an Overlook Horizon magnet, or we could give away another beach ball. I feel like we ought to give away another beach ball. I got a million of these beach balls. I feel like we ought to give away another beach ball. The beach ball is kind of cool. Summer's coming up. Oh, John says he won the sticker before. All right, John. Well, I'll send you something else. You still send me a direct message, John. I'll send you one of our other prizes instead of the sticker. It'll be a surprise prize. So send me that direct message, anyways, John, and I'll send you one of our other prizes. Okay. So let's see. I got some people say the magnet is cool. We got beach ball. People want beach ball. Can I buy a beach ball? I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. I could try. I could check if you wanted to buy a beach ball. I'll see if that's allowed. But in the meantime, we'll give away another beach ball. Killer Katie wants to display the beach ball in the Rocket Lab. Sticker over magnet, but beach balls all day, says MC. All right, we'll go beach ball. Beach ball it is. We're going to give away one beach ball. That'll be our final prize for today. So we'll have two beach balls, a patch, and a mystery prize for John, since he already won a sticker. All right, let's give away another. We'll give away another beach ball here. I think we got all the commenters in, and we'll give this. How much time we got until satellite deployment? Oh, we're coming up. We're getting pretty close to it here. So I got to try to stop blocking my light here with the ball. Jade Bell, beach ball for the pool when I'm watching launches from my backyard. That's a good idea. Beach ball contest. Give me a ball. All right, here I think we got enough stalling here. Let's give away the beach ball. Final prize of the day. Oh, there it is. Gregorius, our moderator, has won the giveaway for the final beach ball. I don't know. I'm not sure, Gregorius. I feel bad, but I'm not sure if Gregorius is in the eligible. Yeah, he says re-roll. I'm not sure. I don't know if Gregorius is in the eligible areas. So first time Gregorius has finally won, but I think Gregorius is not eligible, which is a huge bummer. I wish we could figure out a way we got to figure out a way to give away some free stuff in some of these ineligible areas. We should get Gregorius. I can't remember. I don't remember what country Gregorius is from. I should know that by now, especially since he's like our top moderator. But you should tell me what country you're from, so I'm gonna get on that. So we got to figure out. We got to figure out how to make it eligible for some of those other areas. Some of the laws are. They make it so hard to give away free stuff. So, all right. Well, we'll re-roll it. I'm sorry, Gregorius. You can take comfort in knowing that you've finally been selected by Nightbots to win a prize. But I got to figure out a way to make you eligible. All right. We'll re-roll it. I'm sorry, Gregorius. But all right. Here we go. We'll roll it again. All right, so there's our re-roll is BJ Chorney, who's won the giveaway there. So hopefully BJC. Well, maybe I don't know. I'm not sure what we're gonna go with BJ Chorney because I don't want to screw something up here. But yeah, that's our winner for the final giveaway, the beach ball there. So, you got to send me, like I said, direct message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or overlookhorizon.com/contacts. Just got to send me the address where you want me to send your beach ball or your patch, where you want it to be sent to, and it will go out. And we've got a couple, if you won on the last stream a couple weeks ago, we had a... the couple of prizes that from the last stream just went out the other day, so I didn't forget about you on the last stream. It's just we've had some delays here going on with some work that's happening around us, so some of the prizes have not gone out as fast as I would have liked, but they are going out. Don't fret. So these prizes for today will hopefully go out. They'll probably go out next week, hopefully. So there we go, and just in time, because the SpaceX stream is now back.
Falcon 9 carrying the 10 Iridium NEXT satellites. Broadcasting to you today from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. And on the screen, you're getting one of the periodic views we've had as we've been going through the coast phase of one of the Iridium satellites on top of the Falcon second stage. Now, so far today, we had an on-time launch. Weather looked a little iffy, but the ground winds died down. We launched right on time. First stage did a beautiful landing on the drone ship. Second stage has completed one burn into the desired parking orbit. We're now preparing for a short relight of the upper stage engine in about a minute from now. Now, this second burn is much shorter than the first. It only takes just under 4 seconds to raise the required Iridium orbit to the final altitude. Now, the ignition is called SES2, the second stage engine start number 2. Then we will have the second stage engine cutoff number 2, or SECO2. Now, following SECO2, we will then begin deployment of the 10 Iridium NEXT satellites, starting at about T plus 56 minutes and 58 seconds. So just before T plus 57 minutes, we release them one at a time, about every 100 seconds. And we'll be bringing you that. But right now, we're going to wait for ignition of the second stage engine coming up in about 15 seconds. Now, currently, second stage is doing settling pulses, making sure the propellant's at the bottom of the tank, ready to support ignition.
There we go. Here's our ignition coming up.
We've had ignition and we've had shutdown.
It's quick. I think I missed it. Ignition and shutdown, just like that. Only 3-second burn.
And it looks like
Nominal orbit insertion.
we have a nominal orbit insertion, waiting for the guidance officer to call it out. So the second burn is complete. We've got the Iridium satellites still mounted to Falcon 9, right where we want them, into the final orbit. So now we've got about 5 minutes until the first of the 10 Iridium satellite deployments. There's a view once again looking forward from the second stage camera at the Iridium satellites. We're going to resume commentary at T plus 56 minutes and carry you through the deployment of the 10 Iridium NEXT satellites.
All right, so there it is. So we got a couple of, just a quick 3-minute break here, and then they'll start deployment. Sebi Time Waster said, Gregorius and me found out where they sit when they stream. It's the second level of the cafeteria. That's why you always hear people eating in the background. Yeah, I've always figured that it was somewhere close to the cafeteria, just because you can always hear like forks and plates and stuff banging around in the background. It definitely sounds like a cafeteria, but it's a weird mix to hear that, all those forks and spoons and plates and stuff banging around. Because like that stuff happens even if you got to launch this at like 3 o'clock in the morning. You can hear plates and forks and knives banging around in the background. So yeah, right now we're just got a quick break in the action here before they start deployment of the actual satellites. Howell Shane says, I didn't see nothing. You know what? I missed it too. It was quick. It's only 3 seconds. It's a really quick burn. It just that little extra something to get it into its target orbit there. Roger says, what about giving beach balls to people who donate a certain amount? Well, see, technically it can't, from a nonprofit standpoint, I can't give you anything for a donation. Donations have to be, in order for it to actually be a donation, it has to be with no benefit to the donor, other than the kindness of giving a donation. Anytime you give something back as a result of a donation, then it's no longer considered a donation. Then it's considered basically a purchase. Even if I'm giving you a beach ball for free for your donation, the government does not consider that a donation. They consider that a purchase. So unfortunately, that I cannot do. Whether we can sell the beach balls, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll have to check into that. I never really thought about that. But I'll have to check that. So how does PBS do it then? I don't know how PBS does it. I mean, well, it's not that you can't do it. It's just that it's no longer a donation. I mean, you can, if you donate, I don't know what these beach balls are. I don't know what the worth is on the beach balls, but say the beach balls, I'm gonna throw out huge numbers because I don't know what the beach ball is worth. But say it's worth $100. They're like gold-plated beach balls. So it's a $100 beach ball. If you gave a $200 donation and you got a $100 beach ball in return, from a tax standpoint, it would be considered only a $100 donation, and the other $100 would be considered part of a purchase. So it would be like a partial donation. So that's possible. We'd have to figure out what the market value is of a beach ball. Which, if we're going to sell them, I guess we'd have to figure out that. You'd have to tell me what you're willing to pay for a beach ball if you want to buy a beach ball. Which I don't know if we can do it. Oh, they're back. All right.
10 Iridium NEXT satellites in just under 1 minute from now. Now the camera right now is switched back. We're looking at the MVAC-D nozzle on the second stage. We're currently passing over the island of Madagascar. We're flying north. We'll pass over the Horn of Africa and then up over Central Europe. We are moving into the terminator, so the views will be a little difficult. We're out of the light of the sun to the most part, and we are also illuminating with a small lens or a small flashlight that's mounted on the second stage. Now we're coming up on separation of the first satellite. You might just see it at the very top of the screen moving through the frame. The Iridium satellites are stacked in 2 levels. Let's wait for the call out.
Spacecraft separation confirmed.
And you can see a little bit of activity. The first of the 10 Iridium NEXT satellites has deployed. As I was starting to say, the Iridium satellites are stacked in 2 levels. So there are 5 satellites on the top tier and then 5 satellites on the bottom tier. So the first 5 that we release are off of the top. They're farther away from the payload attached fitting camera, and not all of them are in the field of view. So some of them we'll get to see, some of them will be out of sight from the camera and we'll only hear the call out. But the good news, satellite number 1 is separated on its way. We've got 9 to go, and we're about a minute away from the second satellite. We'll be back then with the separation.
Yep. So these are going to deploy, and I wish they wouldn't put this music here in the foreground here, but these are going to deploy over the next couple of minutes. Over really the next about 12 minutes, they're going to deploy the rest of the 9 satellites here, and so we'll watch them all get put out and pushed off of the upper stage here. One is away. We're just waiting on the other. I think they're what was the time? It's usually
South Africa as expected.
what's the timing is usually like I think it's like 100 seconds in between deployments, something like that. So it's just under 2 minutes. Is that right? I know that's what it's been in the past, but I don't know if that's what it is today. I don't see, at least not in the press kit. I don't see.
Getting ready in about 6 seconds for deployment of the second satellite.
Payload separation confirmed.
And I was a little behind on my call there. We have confirmation of payload separation. Fortunately, it looks like it was a little bit outside of the field of view of the camera, so we only heard the call out from the avionics engineer.
Yeah, we couldn't see that one, so.
2 down, and 8 more to go. As I mentioned, these are released every 100 seconds. Commands from the second stage flight computer go to the release system that deploys the Iridium satellites off of the SpaceX built dispenser that's mounted on top of the second stage.
Yeah, so we won't see all of them. Essentially, we're looking down the side of the cylindrical payload adapter. So it's this big cylinder that extends out away from the camera, and then there's 2 rows of 5 satellites. So there's 5 that go around the cylinder, and then there's another row further down the cylinder with another 5, and they kind of go off each side of the cylinder. So we won't see them all because the camera just is on one side of the cylinder, but they're deploying them all in 100-second increments. I gotta be careful with that music. YouTube is gonna freak out about that music, which is a bit annoying. So, yep, next one here. Next one's coming up here any second now. So we're 1 hour into flight. It's going to we got about another 12 minutes to go for the other. We've got 8 satellites left to deploy in 12 minutes here. There you go. Couldn't see it, but.
Next satellite successfully deployed. That one's out of field of view of the camera. You can't see it, but we did hear the call out. We see it on telemetry.
There we lost the downlink there for a second. Should come back. Oh, you can't hear that.
Stations. We've been using South Africa. We're using
Hello,
Malindi.
Mauritius, as
We're
expected.
coming up on Dubai. We just lost contact, as expected, with Mauritius. So we're handing off. So we may or may not have live video as we come up to this next separation, as we're in the middle of the handoff between the African ground stations and the Dubai ground station.
Ah, bummer. Need another ground station in there. It's too bad there's not another ground station available for tracking that live video here. So we might miss the next deployment. We did see. So Howell Shane said 0 for 3 here. We saw a little bit of the first one deploy. It was off the top of the screen.
Station.
All right, there's Dubai ground station.
Number
just
4,
picked it up.
this should be a good one if my numbers are correct. We ought to be able to see that one come off in the field of view of the camera.
This is number 4. Should be deployed any moment.
Payload has separated.
There it goes, right there.
And there we've got a nice visual confirmation. Separation of the 4th of the 10 Iridium NEXT satellites. Like clockwork, on to the 5th one in 100 seconds.
There you go. So he did say 100 seconds, that's what they had used for all the other satellites as well, was 100 seconds in between deployments. So Jade Bell asked about the risk of running into each other. Yeah, generally these are going to be spaced far enough apart that there won't really be a risk of them running into each other. You also have to remember, like, space is huge, the sky is huge, like with airplanes and stuff like that. I mean, not only, and it's also three-dimensional. So not only would they, in order to run into each other, would they have to be in the same spot horizontally, but also vertically as well. So you could have two that pass right above and below each other and still wouldn't hit each other. But that won't happen either. That's kind of the point of the 100-second deployment here, is keep them separated and keep them spaced accordingly.
Not icy or hard, and you'll see that come off of second stage drain lines every now and then during our webcasts.
So he was talking about, I've kind of kept the volume down a little bit because I got that music playing, which I wish they would just cut out. But he was talking about a little bit of the frozen liquid oxygen. And this one, so they just confirmed payload deployment, but it's out of view, so we can't see that one. That's number 5.
We now concentrate on the 5 satellites that are surrounding the dispenser on the lower half of the stack of what was originally 10 Iridium satellites. Now we're down to 5 to go.
So we got 5 more to go. This is that lower ring. And just a couple more minutes here. And then we'll be wrapping it up for this morning. Sounds like Michael Zumega says that sounds like they're broadcasting from the cafeteria again. Yes, so they, as Sebi Time Waster and Gregorius talked about earlier, they're broadcasting basically from the second level of the cafeteria. So yeah, that's the forks and the spoons and the plates and stuff that you can hear in the background. Yeah, we're coming up. We're almost done here. We've got just 5 more left to go. 100 seconds apiece. And it should go to about 1:12 on the clock. Could be slightly after that. Depends on how accurate their orbital insertion was. We're coming up here on number 6.
We might be able to see this one out of the corner.
We're looking out of the corner to see number 6 go. Oh, there it
Satellite
goes.
separation
The top
confirmed.
there.
And we actually had a pretty good view there of the 6th Iridium satellite deploying off of the dispenser, mounted on top of the Falcon 9 second stage. Everything continued to go well on the timeline. 6 down, 4 to go, 100 seconds until the next satellite deployment.
All right, so we're waiting on number 7. It's 7 out of 10, so not too much. Caprino wants to know what data will these satellites be collecting. So these are not research satellites. These are communication satellites. So they service a communication network that covers 100% of the Earth. So customers can buy communication time with the Iridium network to run communications and to get communications with different parts of the world. Even us, from a weather balloon standpoint, there's actually University of Maryland weather balloon group actually does this, but we could do it if we wanted to. You can buy for Arduino and Raspberry Pi, you can buy an Iridium communication chip. And so if we wanted to track our weather balloons, for example, using the Iridium network, which is what this this is the new one. The chip that you can buy right now would be on the old network. But you can buy a chip, and I could go to Iridium and buy time on their communication network and just pay for the communication that I do on the Iridium network. So if I wanted to get communications, I could do that.
The view, camera is a little too zoomed in to see it, but it'd just be below the satellite that you're looking at.
Spacecraft has separated.
Confirmation of separation, we can see it in the breakwire telemetry. So we've got 7 down, 3 to go. So
3 more
just
left.
5 minutes to go in the deployment sequence.
Got 3 left. Yeah, and Gregorius said they do communication, they do satellite phones, they do data, audio, networking all around the globe. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff that the Iridium network and the Iridium constellation services for all different types of providers. That's why there's 75 of them that are up there. It's to cover 100% of the globe and offer service anywhere. And the real benefit here, because you could do like geostationary satellites and run communications off of those. But the problem with geostationary satellites is they have to be so far away that the speed of communication is not really that great for a geostationary satellite. That's why the Iridium constellation is much closer. That's why SpaceX's Starlink constellation is going to be much closer as well. So the closer you can get to the ground, the faster you can communicate with it, and you know, that provides much better speed and you know, kind of instant communications that a lot of people are used to. If you have to wait, or if there's a delay in communications, it starts to limit what applications you can use it for.
10 Iridium NEXT satellites. This one's out of view of the camera. It's on the backside of the dispenser.
Spacecraft deploy confirmed.
There's another one.
Even though we can't see it, we can hear it. His avionics engineer confirms that the satellite has been successfully deployed. 8 down. We've got just 2 to go.
2 more, and then we'll wrap it up here today. Just a hello. Hello here speaks the team of Astronomical News of Brazil. I like the live. Well, thanks for joining us. Hello there, Brazil. Appreciate you being here. Overzealous Nightbot strikes again. Oh yeah, Nightbot got upset. Gotta run, work time. Great show as always. Thanks, Howell Shane. Appreciate you hanging out with us here this morning. We got just a couple minutes here left to go.
The one that I like to see is the one right in front of the payload attached fitting camera. If you'll notice, it says SV10 underneath it in white letters. This is the 9th one to separate. The numbering that is stenciled onto the vehicle is different than the order that we separate in. So don't worry when number 9 separates and you're going, why is it labeled number 10?
So their next separation should be right in front of the camera here. Yep, right there.
Satellite has separated.
Oh yeah, nice view. Satellite number 9 has separated. We're down to 1 to go.
1 left, and then that'll be it. And this one will be out of view, so we won't be able to see this one. But we'll wait to get that confirmation of separation, and then we'll wrap it up here once they finish up on their end, because we're almost there. And pretty much right on time. They said the last one, according to the press kit, the last one was going to separate at 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 52 seconds. So we're pretty much right on schedule. Somebody wants, today, was the Nosecone recovered from Falcon 9? No, they did not do a fairing recovery today. They didn't even put a parachute on the payload fairing today, so they didn't even do a soft landing or anything. It was just completely expended. They deployed the fairing, and then they just let it return to Earth on its own. Presumably, it would have broken up into a whole bunch of pieces. So no recovery on the fairing today.
For deployment of the 10th.
Should be about 10 seconds to the final
Iridium
deployment here.
Mission.
Yeah, any second now, really. Final deployment.
Final Iridium satellite separation confirmed.
There it is.
And you've heard the call out. Final Iridium satellite separation. And that's not only 10 for 10 today, but that's 75 for 75. It's been a clean sweep for Iridium and Falcon 9. That's going to bring an end to our webcast. And it's been a great webcast. Falcon 9, we had sunrise. We saw the rocket countdown. Launched right on time. Beautiful views from the onboard cameras. First stage landed on the drone chip right on the X. Second stage went into the first orbit. It was a very nominal orbit. We relit the engine. Second orbit was an excellent one. And just now you've watched with us over the last 15 minutes or so as we've deployed all 10 of the Iridium NEXT satellites, completing 75 satellites on orbit for the new generation of Iridium capability from space. Now, we'd like to thank the United States Air Force for their range support today, and our licensing agency, the Federal Aviation Administration. And a special thanks to our Iridium customer for 8 great launches over the past 2 years. When Iridium and SpaceX entered this agreement, it was, at the time, the largest single commercial satellite deal ever signed. So it's been exciting to support these launches and a true honor to be Iridium's launch provider. Thanks, Iridium, and thanks to those watching, and have a great day. Falcon 9 team is conducting the countdown, working no significant issues. We're on schedule for an on-time launch.
Oh, I got the music again here. So I got a little outro package. Yeah, huge tech upgrade. That's the Iridium constellation. I'm not sure what's going on here. Little post broadcast package here, and I'm just kind of floating in the middle. But I'll have to talk over this because they've got music playing, and I can't. Yeah, we could try. Do I have? I don't have closed captioning. Somebody had mentioned to turn on the closed captioning, but there's no closed captioning available for their broadcasts. A lot of times, live broadcasts, that's pretty common. Just have to have somebody live interpreting that. So, but anyways, looks like they're going through and just showing all the different Iridium launches for the big upgrade. That's pretty cool looking right there. But yeah, successful day for SpaceX and a successful campaign for both SpaceX and Iridium. They will have now completed. There's going to be a little bit of time before they all become operational. It's not like they're going to flip the switch today, but there'll be a little bit of time before they make everything operational. But Iridium now has put up all 75 of their planned Iridium NEXT constellation satellites. And I think that's it. I think that's the end of the SpaceX broadcast. So I'll switch over to here. So yeah, it looks like a good day for SpaceX this morning. Good day for Iridium to close up and get the grand finale on their satellite constellation today. And I think we're in good shape. Now, somebody asked what's next. So there's really not much scheduled for the rest of January. So the commercial crew demo flight is now no earlier than February. You've also got the PSN 6 flights. That's like mid-February. Got Radar Sat, also mid-February. And then potentially sometime in February, maybe Arabsat 6A. Arabsat, the significant thing about Arabsat is that's a Falcon Heavy flight. So we're still waiting on Falcon Heavy, the second appearance of Falcon Heavy, but that could happen as early as February sometime, but still not, we still don't have a specific date for that yet. And then we've got another CRS mission coming up, also potentially in February as well. And we've got the Sarah 1 mission coming up couple of weeks. You got STP-2, that's another Falcon Heavy. So there's a lot on the schedule here, but nothing in the immediate future. We're just waiting. I think the next big thing will be the commercial crew uncrewed demo mission that'll be coming up hopefully beginning of February. That's the idea. So, and that would be the next coverage for us. So yeah, you gotta make sure you follow us on Twitter and subscribe to the YouTube channel, so that you can follow along with us and join in our live watch parties today. And hopefully I will not have nearly as much trouble next time as I had today between my broadcast software issues as I was getting started, and my eyes that are not so red anymore, but they were super red to start the broadcast, and my sniffling. Oh my goodness, what a day we had today. And then somebody asked about our balloon flight schedules. We don't have any planned yet. The first flight you'll see from us for balloon flights won't be until late March, maybe early April. That's the first flight that we'll have of our weather balloons for the year, and that's really just because of the wind conditions. Somebody asked if it was too cold. The cold is actually not that bad for flying balloons. I mean, it makes it a little bit harder to launch and recover them if you have to be out in the cold all the time, but that's not really the issue. The issue is generally the winds this time of year are very, very strong, and it makes recovery. It means we'd have to drive like hours and hours to get to the recovery site, which just makes it a lot harder to recover, especially if it lands in a tree and you need equipment. You'd have to turn around, drive hours back home, and then turn around, drive hours back to the landing site. And if you can't recover it, you got to go back and forth and back. It just makes it really hard. So we try not to launch in the days where it goes really, really far like that. So usually by about the end of March, beginning of April, we can start to find a day that will that'll work for our flights. And some of the stuff that we have planned, we're still trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do for our balloon flights this year. But we're talking potentially a 360 camera. I'd love to get a 360 camera up on one of our flights, see if we can get some 360 video. We've got another. We want to do another micro payload, so we get a little Shrimpy 2 Overlook Horizon 10, which was Shrimpy. That was our little micro payload that flew by itself. We'd like to fly another one of those by itself now that we've kind of sorted it out and we've got it working pretty reliably at this point. So that's another one, and then we'll figure out. We've got a couple more things that we'll want to do for this year as well. So still in the planning phase, but we'll fill you in. We'll definitely have some cool stuff going on for our flights this year as well. All right, well, I think I'm going to wrap up here. So we had a good time. Like I said, the next one for us will be, oh, that's right, Gregorius said, don't forget the ULA ball balloon experiment. I almost did forget. I still do want to do that. So I'm glad you reminded me about that. So this is my idea. I think we have a little contest, a little experiment. We'll like partially inflate one of these balls. We're gonna fly it up on a weather balloon, watch the ball expand due to the pressure, and we'll see if you guys can guess at what altitude this ball will break and fail. So will it blow a hole in the side? Will one of the seams break? Will just the valve on top fail? At some point, or will it not fail at all? Maybe this is super strong stuff and it'll just make it through all the way. So we're gonna fly one of these up. We'll see what happens. Fly this on a weather balloon, and I do want to do that. Maybe we'll run a little contest and we'll see who can get closest to the altitude at which it breaks, and we'll probably do some like Price is Right rules or something. Closest to the altitude without going over wins. The ball that goes up, and we'll probably send you a new one too. So we'll send you two. The one that actually broke, you can have that one, and I don't know, do whatever you want with that. But we'll send you a real one that's unbroken. You can have that as well. So I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me, Gregorius. I think that'll be fun. We'll launch one of those balls up, and we'll see if we can guess at what altitude the ball will fail. Run a little contest on it. So, all right. Well, I think that's going to cover it here for today. I don't have anything left. SpaceX is done. They had a good day for launching today. So I think I'm going to wrap it up, and then hopefully. Oh, Gregory says you need to sign the broken ball. Oh, that's a good idea. That would be cool. We could sign a broken ball, and then it's not just a random broken ball. It might make it a little more worth it. What's going on with NROL 71? Will you stream that launch? It really depends on when it's going to be. So FMC123 wants to know. That's the ULA launch of the National Reconnaissance Mission. We might stream it, depending on when it was. I was a little bit busy when they previously scheduled it, but now that they've pushed it off and delayed it so many times, I might be able to stream that launch. Depends on. Right now, we don't have a date for it yet, so depending on when the date is, might be able to stream that one. What if someone finds the broken ball? Will the tax authorities consider it a purchase? Yeah, I think. Well, hopefully the broken ball hopefully will come back with the payload, that way we can recover it along with everything else. That's also possible too. Maybe we won't even get it back. So let's see. Well, I think that wraps it up here for today. Well, I appreciate everybody joining me this morning. Sorry about some of the troubles that were going on between broadcast issues and my cold that I've got here this morning. Hopefully that'll be cleared up by the next time we go live. But it is what it is. But I'm going to wrap things up here for this morning. So my name's Tori. This is Overlook Horizon. We had some fun, and look out for the next mission, which will hopefully be that uncrewed commercial crew demo flights, because that should be a lot of fun, and I'm super excited to see that fly. We also got, at some point, they're going to do a flight abort test too, and I'd like to stream that, because I've heard that's going to be crazy. They're going to do a flight abort and intentionally terminate the first stage, like basically. I'd love to see. I mean, I don't want to see that on a real launch, but I'd love to see it intentionally if they're still doing. I'm not even sure if that's 100%, but that's the rumor I keep hearing, is that they're going to do a flight abort test with the uncrewed capsule later on in the spring, where they run the abort motors and separate the crew capsule and abort it in flight, mid-flight, and then they're going to intentionally terminate the first stage. That'll be crazy. But let's see, where is he streaming that he doesn't say anything from us? Well, we're streaming live on multiple platforms. I do see your Periscope comments, so I see I see them all. But we will. I didn't see any questions come through, so sorry if I missed a question there. We'll definitely get to them next time, because I think I'm gonna wrap it up here for now. But all right, so I think that's it. So thanks everybody. I appreciate it. My name's Tori. This is Overlook Horizon, and you guys all have a good rest of the day. Thanks for joining us today. All right, see ya.